what's cooking on Cindy's Kitchen this morning? Well, just as advertised, we're doing two things. The first thing we're doing is a squash that you may not have seen before, is the patty pan squash. Isn't this pretty? You're doing the tropical whip. I know you need it, don't you, Linda? Okay, so these are what are called patty pan squash. Now, they can come in yellow. You see the yellow? It's got the little green button there. Sometimes they're solid yellow. Sometimes they've got little streaks of green. And then this is a white one. They taste the same. They just come in different sizes and shapes and colors. Good morning, Darlene. So I went ahead. Now, again, you get however many to feed your family. For mine, I just got 4. I got 2 of the yellow, and 2 of the white, okay? And then I also went ahead and got some garlic, some fresh garlic. I need to make some more roasted garlic. Do you have your roasted garlic? I'm running low, like I'm running out. That's bad, I know. Okay, pretty bowl is going bye-bye. That's what I'm keeping my fines in. All right, so we're gonna make roasted patty pan squash, and I'm gonna add a few flavors in it. Now, what is a patty pan squash, and what does it taste like without? Oh, it is hard to find, Susan. A patty pan squash can be cooked. I mean, it's just like any other soft skin squash, like a yellow squash or a zucchini squash, right? And so because they're a softer squash, a softer vegetable, the outer skin is perfectly fine to eat. You don't need to peel these, which you know Cindy likes, less work, right? No need to peel it. We're just gonna cut them up just like this. The other thing is, what do they taste like? They do taste very similar to a yellow squash, but a lot of people say they taste more buttery. Some people say more of an olive, like a fresh olive oil taste. I don't know. They taste like squash to me. So there you go. I'm glad. Thank you, Rob. Rob is you and Rob are very special to us. I have to turn the music off. So if your lady is listening, cover her ears. Okay, Alexa, stop. I was listening to James Taylor this morning, which was fine, but that is some woman singing, and it was not James Taylor. And it was a little too yah-yah in the background. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our patty pans. Now, there's a top and a bottom, obviously. Can you see that's kind of like the bottom? That's where the root would have been attached, right? And there's the top. These flour, just like yellow squash, if you were looking, it starts with a flour. And then we come from these. I'm not going to, if it's too much on the edge, you certainly can take that off or cut around it, but I'm not going to, because it's fine, right? Maybe if there's a little sticking out, but I'm okay with it. Hey, Jody. Yes, Vicky. Very yummy. All right, so I'm gonna start with the yellow ones. Now, you can cut these any way you want. One of the reasons I like this is because let's say that you make the same kind of vegetables all the time and your family is like, really, something different? Or you're feeling like, I just want something different. You can cook these just like you would cook your yellow squash, but the difference is they're gonna look different. And so then we eat with our eyes, as well. So you're gonna look at these and go, oh, we're having something different. And so the flavors are gonna be similar, but your eyes are gonna tell you it's something different, right? So even if you're making yellow squash, cut them differently. And if you always cut them in rounds, cut them in half moons, dice them, cut them in matchsticks. Good morning, Linda. Good to see you. So there you go. Now, you have some options with this, just like any squash. You can dice it up. You can do a dice. And you can saute these. You can boil them. We're going to roast them. So you can cut them long ways like this. And then you'll have like these moon-looking things or flowers, right? You can go this way. And so then the outer edges have a really pretty flute. I'm just gonna kind of quarter, except when I say quarter, because these are a little bigger, I'm probably gonna make an octet, right? So, okay, so I'm gonna cut down the center that way. Then I'm gonna go across this way, okay? And then each of these, I'm gonna cut in half. So this is what I'm left with. Look at that. Almost looks like an apple. So you can see inside. Let me get a little closer. You see the little seeds? Really not anything edible. I mean, it's not inedible, and really you don't feel like you're eating a seed, okay? Now I've just got a large bowl right here. Look, I didn't even do this on purpose. My bowl, maraschino, matches my cup, maraschino. I'm all mashy today. I didn't mean to be, but there you go. All right, so each of these I'm just gonna cut in half. Again, you can slice them up any way you want to. The bigger the pieces, the longer it'll take to cook. The smaller the pieces, the less amount of time it takes to cook. So again, this is another one. Now, if you're looking for what makes a patty pan more, let's say, more tender, if you will, you really want to look for smaller ones or flatter ones. So like, you see how that's flat? Whereas this one is a little, this yellow one was a little taller. See how tall it is? So the younger ones tend to be more tender if you're looking for that. But quite frankly, it's squash. It'll be fine. Okay? So now I'm gonna do the white one, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna cut them so they're all equal. Why do I wanna do this? Again, you want to, whenever you roast or bake things, especially veggies, you want to cut them in sizes that are all about the same so that your cooking time is about the same, okay? Now this one is really big, so I'm gonna take this one and go in each of the little quarters, and I'm gonna do it in thirds. Again, wholly up to you. Some of you need recipes. Good morning, Larissa. Like a pie slice, yes. Good morning, Sharon, good to see you. Yeah, like a pie slice, like we're slicing a pie. Yum, pie. I have one piece of my white chocolate mango refrigerator pie left. It will be for today, thank you very much. One piece. Okay, there we go. So I've got a bowl, and you can see about how many are in there. You don't have to put all these in a bowl. You can do them straight in your baking dish, but I'm doing it in a bowl. Okay, now I've got a half of an onion here. See, half of an onion. I used the other half for my butter that we're gonna use for my butter beans. And so that's why I have a half. You don't have to put onion in this, but again, anything you put in the oven, you want to, even this, there needs to be some flavors that go along with it. Vegetables have a great flavor all on their own. But I always think you need to give things a little kick. All right, so I'm cutting this in half, and then I sliced it because I want the pieces, so you see about the size that it is, to be about the same size as my onions. And then the last thing I'm gonna put in is some garlic, because I got garlic at the farmer's market. Now I've got 3 cloves, and I know that all of you were appalled, simply appalled, that this is not roasted garlic. But quite frankly, I would be re-roasting the garlic, right? Okay, and I don't need to re-roast garlic. Ooh, that garlic has stuffed. So I just banged on it. You guys know how you get garlic out, right? So I banged on it, and once you do that, it kind of releases it. There's some great little tricks. Oh, very stout. Like you can take your garlic and put it in a metal bowl or in a jar, put the lid on it. Oh, mama's eyes, they be tearing, oh. And just give it a shake and do this, shake, 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 shake. And quite frankly, they all come apart. I'm just gonna put these in whole, just like that, okay? All right, so there we go. So we have all of our vegetables. All we have is 4 patty pan squash, 2 yellow, 2 white, a half of an onion, and 3 cloves of garlic. That's making me tear terribly. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do is olive oil. Those of you who have been asking about my olive oil container, not this particular pattern, but if you've been watching More Polish Pottery's Facebook Lives, she got in some more containers that have the little lids. So you're gonna put a tablespoon or 2, that's probably 2 tablespoons of olive oil in there, and then we're gonna season. We're gonna put in salt. Now, do I tell you how much salt? Let's just go with a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of all the things I'm about to put in there. So I just did salt and pepper, and I am gonna put a little smoked paprika because you know me and my smoked paprika. I cannot help myself. I love that it gives it that, I don't know, smoked woody flavor. Ooh, yum. Okay, remember, oh, I lost you almost, sorry. You know, we have more people at home that are on the internet. And so sometimes that pulls me offline. So I apologize, we went out just for a second. Anyway, so remember I said you don't need a bowl, that you could do this in your baking dish. You certainly can. You could put everything on your baking dish. This is the baking dish I'm using. This one is about 10 by 12 is what mine is. Just depends on how many veggies that you're cooking at one time. You could do this in here, just put all of your cut veggies and then put your olive oil and your seasonings. Oh, good. I'm glad you're still with me, Loisanne. Thank you. Good morning, Jackie. And then take your hands and just do it all, you know, smush it. You just want to make sure that all of your veggies are coated, right? So they all have some oil on it. They all have some salt, pepper, and smoked paprika. You obviously don't have to use the smoked paprika. It's my thing, right? Okay. So because you've oiled your veggies, you don't need to oil your dish at all, which I wouldn't anyway. And then we're just gonna pour it all in there. Yum! All right, I'm gonna get all my oil out of there. There we go. And we're gonna spread them out. The reason I picked this size dish is I want to be able, I'm gonna lay them flat. I don't want any, if there's any that are sticking up, that end might get a little browner or darker than the rest. So I'm just trying to make sure everybody's laying down. Lay down in the pan. No standing in the boat. No standing in the boat. We got to lay in the boat. So everybody, all the veggies are laying in the boat. Okay, and there we go. Look at that. It looks gorgeous right now. So we're gonna put this in the oven at 400 degrees. 400 degrees, which is kind of between 400 and 450 is a normal roasting temperature if you're roasting veggies, right? Hey Cindy, Michigan is watching, just joined. The name of the squash, Crystal, is called patty pan. Patty pan squash. Sometimes hard to find, but if you're looking in local farmers markets, that's where you'll find it. Just something different. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. 15, so here's the realm, 15 to about 25 minutes. And that's because it depends on how you cut them, right? How big are the pieces or how small are the pieces. So that's the big deal. After about 15 minutes, you just want to start checking them with a fork. If the fork comes, if you stab them and you pull up and the squash comes with the fork, not done yet. If you stab it and the fork comes back empty and the fork is sad, the fork says, oh, there is no squash on me, they're done. They're done, I tell you, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. And then we can get started on our butter beans. If you're new, welcome, we're glad you're here. Please don't lurk in the background. We don't like lurkers. Introduce yourself. Tell us what state you're from. We love saying hi to all our new friends. And then if you, please go to our YouTube channel, also conveniently called Cindy's Kitchen, and subscribe there. If you subscribe, then you can see all of the recipes from the last 103 shows. 103, I tell you. So, very excited, very excited. All right, so we're gonna start our butter beans. Oh, before I do that, I have to tell you one quick story. Oh, a little warm. This is what I made this morning. Do you remember this recipe? Anybody remember this recipe? This is the sweet noodle kugel. Sweet noodle kugel. I made it several weeks ago. And I've made it several times. I've made it twice since. Good morning from Illinois. Hey, Linda. The last time I made it, instead of making a big one, I divided it into 3 smaller pans this size. Look, I also made me one. Look, there's my little one. Ooh, burgundy berry green. Look at that. Anyway, so I divided it into thirds so I could give them to friends so that I don't sit and eat the entire 9 by 13 container of it, right? Yeah. And so one of the friends I took it over to, they're Jewish, right? And after I dropped it off, I didn't drop it off. One of the girls did. I thought, oh, that was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. Dumbest thing I've ever done. You just made a Jewish dish. You, not Jewish, made a Jewish dish and took it over to two Jewish folks who are going to say, what? And I'm not even certain that it tastes like the Jew. Oh, you did. Yum, Lois. So I take it over there and I don't hear anything that day. So then I'm like, oh, it didn't taste right, right? It's not the traditional way. But she calls the next day and she said, it was the best kugel I've ever had. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I was like, oh, yippee. Okay. All right. So now we're going to start our butter beans. I've told you my story. That's the second time that's happened. I made, what is it? Okay. Mental pause. Mad cow disease. Man, you turn 55 and your brain goes to mush. Actual mush inside. Baklava. Okay, there you go. So I made baklava and took it. I have some friends and he's from Nazareth. And they had a death in the family. And so I made this big thing of baklava and I take it over there. And as soon as I've left it, I had the same thought, right? You moron, what have you done? You made baklava from somebody and gave it to somebody from Israel. I mean, they know what baklava is supposed to taste like. The whole family loved it. So I was like, yay. Okay, let's start on the butter beans, shall we? What are butter beans? Well, I got this bag at the farmer's market and it was actually, they actually had them frozen. A lot of times, if you go to the farmer's market, sometimes they will have them in big bins or buckets for you to scoop up however many you want. But to ensure that they don't go bad, especially in all this heat, a lot of times they'll go ahead and package them and then put them in bags and put them in the a refrigerated case or a freezer case. And if you do that, they last a lot longer. So what you'll first notice is they almost look like a lima bean. Although traditional lima beans are green. You see how this is more brown, but it's flat, just like a lima bean. Oh no, Susan, the smaller container came out much earlier. Yeah, the bigger one took longer to cook. The smaller one came out earlier. Anyway, so lima beans the raw lima beans are usually green or a whiter color. And these, you can see they're more of a brown, some green, but more of a brown. It is from the lima bean family. And before you go, ugh, blah, 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 I can tell you, I do not care for lima beans. I do not care for lima beans. You know, it's another one of those things I just don't care for. To me, lima beans taste mushy and they're just, I don't know. I don't like lima beans. I love butter beans. So my mother and my grandmother used to make butter beans when I was growing up, and I would have these for breakfast. Like, I would get up in the morning and get the leftover. I would make a big bowl and put it in the microwave and have that for breakfast. And not just the beans, like the soup part of it too. So good. So good. Anyway, so I did do a few things before you got here. And that's just because I know that you don't mind moving from one side of my kitchen to another side of my kitchen. But it's just easier for me to stay put and not have to move. And I've got all my stuff laid out. So here's what I did. I started with a big pot. You're gonna need a soup pot. These are called soup pots, stock pots, or Dutch ovens, right? Depending on where you grew up. Mine is purple. Look at that sparkly purple. Yay. It is, I think it's Rachel Ray, in case you're curious. Anyway, so I took 3 pieces of bacon, just regular old bacon, regular old hickory smoked premium bacon. That's what it says. And then I cut it up. Now, not in smaller, not in a tiny dice, but about that much, right? So I just chop. I put the bacon, turned it on about medium high. Oh, I just need there we go. Medium high, and let the bacon start cooking. You don't necessarily need it crispy, because you know that's what a lot of people will say. Okay, crisp the bacon, then you take the bacon out. We don't necessarily need that. But I did cook it. Someday, could you do something with spaghetti squash? Certainly. I certainly will. No problem at all, Linda. So anyway, I just cooked the bacon in here until it started to take on a little bit of color. So you see, like, that side's not so much, that side's a little bit. Once it started to take on just a little bit of color and had released some of its yumminess, bacon juice, because we are not calling it grease or fat. That has negative connotations, right? Because if you say fat, if you say, Cindy, release your fat. Oh, you said I was fat. So we don't want to call the bacon names. No name calling to the bacon. And so the bacon is releasing its lovely juice. Once the bacon has released some of its lovely juice, then I took the other half of that onion, a half of an onion, and I just diced it up. And then I also put in 2 cloves of garlic. Normally I would use roasted garlic. You know me, love the roasted garlic. Unfortunately, I'm out. That's why I bought all of this so that I can make roasted garlic today. Depending on how fast I go, we may go ahead and put it together just to remind you how to do it. So I sauteed the onions and the garlic you see in there with the bacon in there. A reminder when you're cooking, I've said this before, but a reminder when you're cooking. If you are trying to crisp up bacon, never cook your bacon with your onions. The bacon will never crisp. It will not crisp up. And the reason for that is the onion, especially if you salt the onion releases water or liquid. And that doesn't allow the bacon to get crisp, right? Because when there's liquid, then things start to steam or boil, and we don't want that. So if you want crispy bacon, you have to do your bacon first, then take your bacon out, then put your onion in. I don't need my bacon crispy. I want bacon flavor running through this. If you don't have bacon, you can use ham. You can use a ham hock. You can use sausage. You could use turkey sausage. I've never done that. Or turkey bacon. Not a lot of fat. So if you use turkey bacon, you're going to have to put some butter or some oil in there. If you don't have any meat product or your anti-meat product, you can use butter. Although butter is kind of a animal. You can use olive oil. Olive oil or butter, whatever. Now normally, once this is all done, and we just want our onions translucent. We want them to be softened up. Our garlic has gone, oh, and so our kitchen now smells like bacon and onions and garlic, and the whole house is going, hallelujah, mama's cooking, right? All right, so once that is translucent, then I'm gonna add my bag of beans, right? Okay, so those just go in there, and then we do our add-ins, okay? You can buy frozen butter beans, and frozen butter beans will work the exact same way. So if you don't have a farmer's market near you, you can look for frozen butter beans, okay? Now, I'm gonna add my seasonings first. And of course, you know what my seasonings are. It's pretty much the same all the time. Let's say a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon of pepper, depending on your spice stuff, right? And then again, because I want everything to be smoky and yummy, I'm adding some smoked paprika. You don't have to, but there you go. All right, then to that, so we have bacon, onion, garlic, butter beans, salt, pepper, smoked paprika. Now, this one you may not want to add because maybe your taste buds don't like this, and that's fine. But for my family and for me, it's a 2 thumbs up. And that's a can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, okay? You know it by the other name, but this is the store version. To me, this just gives it a great little kick, and that's why it's called Zippy instead of just regular old butter beans. All right, so we're just gonna dump that in. Don't drain the juice off, just put the whole can in there. And then we're gonna need some broth. If you have chicken broth, that's fine. This is vegetable broth, see, veggie broth. Again, store-bought, but whatever. I would like to have used one of the big boxes of broth, but I'm out. And so I have cans. So I'm gonna use 2 cans, which is gonna give us 28 ounces, because these are 14-ounce cans. 28 ounces of chicken stock. Now, if I stir this up, and I'm gonna tilt just a little bit, you will see, I'm gonna see if you can see. Can you see what I see? The beans are covered, which is what we're looking for, but I'm gonna bring this to a boil. And what's gonna happen is anytime you boil something, especially with the lid off, then the water is going to evaporate, which means if you start with the beans just barely covered and you let them boil, then what happens is the liquid level goes down. I like the juice. I like the yumminess that comes with this. So I'm gonna add some water. This is my little, what is it called? Decanter? No. Carafe. It's called a carafe. Never heard of frozen butter beans? Yes, in your frozen food section. All right, so I'm gonna add, I don't know, maybe a cup, 2 cups. I just wanna have, you can't have too much liquid, right? You just can't. And we've got all of those good flavors. Now, that's it. Can you imagine? That's it. We are going to put this on the stovetop. And on the stovetop, we're gonna bring it to a boil. Once it hits a boil, we're gonna turn it down to low and put the lid on it. And then we're gonna let it cook for an hour. An hour, I tell you. Every now and then, go in there, give it a stir. Nothing's gonna stick, because you have enough liquid, right? Nothing's gonna stick, but you wanna do it because your whole taste buds, you're doing this in the house. You smell it, you know it's there, and you just, so you can go and give it a stir and reassure yourself that soon and very soon, you're gonna get some butter beans. So there you go. That's it. So what did we do? We did 3 pieces of bacon cut up. We did half of an onion, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, whatever you want. Then after that was all sauteed, our butter beans, salt, pepper, smoked paprika, a can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, and you can leave that out if you want. If you don't like tomatoes, if you can't eat tomatoes, or that's too spicy for you. Although do remember that all of these things have like hot and mild, right? So you can always do a mild if it's too spicy for you. 28 ounces of chicken stock, enough to cover the beans totally, and then probably another cup or 2 of water, just so that we've got enough when it sinks down. All right, I'm gonna put this on a boil on the stovetop. I'm gonna move my kugel because I don't want my kugel. Would you get the foil, baby? Yeah. I'm gonna get the foil because it's only 11:30, so we have time just to do one more thing. And so for those of you who have never, if you've already seen this, you can say, okay, fine, I'm leaving, whatever. Pardon me. Here is my little container that I keep my garlic in, but I have another one that looks just like this, and it has a lid too. My lid's over there. You don't have to use anything like this. I mean, quite frankly, if you don't have these things and you have a plastic something, you could certainly use that, but I use these. This is what I started out with, right? And you can see that, oh, mine has 1 clove left in there, see? But a lot of people were asking, how do I get these? Where do I get these? And I know that Rebecca was low on stock. And so I've also used this one. This is like, normally this was in my bathroom and I kept earrings in here. At one point I had cotton balls in here, but you know, now it has garlic in it. So just FYI. Okay, so we're gonna start out with, what are we starting out with? Foil, here we go. I have so much crud everywhere, don't I? Foil. It doesn't have to be the heavy duty kind, it really doesn't matter. And you just want a big enough piece, because we're gonna, so that big, to wrap our garlic in. I'm gonna set it to the side just a second. Get your knife, your knife. Remember that big old cleaver I showed you that I ordered? I sent it back. I sent it back because that's not what I ordered. I ordered a chef's knife. I mean, I thought it was cool, and I thought about keeping it, but the more I looked at it, I was like, that's just too big for my little arthritic hands to use. So I sent it back, and I'm hoping that they will send me the right one, because I ordered a chef knife, not a meat cleaver. Okay, so here is our garlic, right? wherever you get your garlic from. You get the big old, these are called the heads, right? A big head of garlic. The inside ones are called cloves, right? So those are the individual cloves. They're all attached. You see the root ball right here? All the garlic is attached at the bottom in the root ball, and you see how it comes up, and then that's where the flour is, okay? So I use the covered box from Rebecca that is the size of your rectangular for my fresh garlic. Okay, yeah, and you can certainly keep your fresh garlic in there, right? That would be fine. I just prefer roasted garlic for everything, and so I would make the roasted garlic and then cover it with olive oil and keep it in here. So there you go. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut off the top of this. So can you see right here? Let me see. Okay, so here's the top. There's the root ball. Leave the root where it is. Go to the top, and we're just gonna cut off enough to expose the top of the cloves, okay? Somebody, the first time I did this, said, oh, can you cook the tops? And the answer is, of course, because see, there's the top. You don't want to waste anything, so you certainly can stick that in the foil too. Although, it's all kind of coming apart, but we'll stick it in there. All right, we're gonna stick that in the middle of our foil. Okay, you see, that's what it looks like. The root ball is holding it together. There's what we got. 4 big, big cloves on that one. All right, so I'm gonna do the other ones. Same thing. If you wanna keep your tops, if there's a sufficient amount in there and you wanna keep the tops, you certainly can. See, that's the top, that's the top. See the top? And that's the bottom. See, top and bottom, okay? In the foil we go. I have 4 of these, and quite frankly, it doesn't take any more time to make 4 than it does 1. You might as well do a big old batch. Because quite frankly, if you've never made roasted garlic, I know, doesn't it? American garlic, yeah, I have, it's from the farmer's market. It just said garlic, so there you go. I don't know that I really have seen the difference between elephant garlic and regular garlic, but anyway. All right, so I've cut those off, and now I'm pulling this over here, back over here so you can see. So I'm hoping that you can see down here. Can you see down there? If you're seeing the comments, and so that means you can't see the bottom of the screen, take your finger and swipe to the right, I believe. It's either to the right or the left, and the comments will go away so that you can see the bottom of the screen if you can't. All right, so here we go. All of our heads, all of our cloves, or our heads of garlic are there. We're gonna take our olive oil. If you don't have olive oil and you only have canola oil or vegetable oil, that's fine. I just used olive oil here. And we're gonna drizzle our olive oil over the tops of where all of our garlic is, okay? We just want those coated. And we're gonna add a little salt. Again, we want our little friends, because what happens when we salt things? Not only does it bring out the flavor in them, but it also draws out the liquid in them, and that's what we want. Because then this roasted garlic, you know when you take the bite of plain garlic, you open a clove, and you saw how my eyes were watering, and if you took a bite of that, it's very bitter. It's like an acrid taste. It's like, ugh. And so that's why when you're cooking, you want to keep an eye on your garlic, right? Because you don't want the big pieces. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little pepper on top as well. Pepper for your paprika, and then we're just gonna wrap it up. You don't wanna do that because it just doesn't taste great. That's why you need to saute it down. But with roasted garlic, once you roast it, we're gonna roast this for an hour. It's gonna go in a 400-degree oven for an hour, and then take it out, let it cool. And what will happen is you will be able to take the bottom of the clove and hold your container and just squeeze. You'll be able to squeeze and the cloves will just fall out. It's so cool. Once you have your roasted garlic out and you put it in whatever container, plastic or Polish pottery container that you want it in, cover them with oil. Again, I use olive oil, but you can use canola or vegetable oil. They'll last on top of your counter for several weeks, so you can use it. Good morning, Joanne. I was missing you, my friend. Okay, so you're just gonna wrap that up, stick it in the 400-degree oven for 1 hour, take it out, let it cool, because we don't want you to burn your pretty little hands, and then squeeze it into a container, cover it with olive oil, and put the lid on it, and you are good to go for several weeks. I'm gonna pop this in my oven. Okay, and I'm checking on my squash. Hold on. Ugh. Okay. My hands, I think it's gonna rain. I'm not certain if it's gonna rain or the barometric pressure's just been changing, but I have not felt well since yesterday. And my hands, I feel like old lady hands, like right now. Like all of this, every joint is doing one of these things. Want an apple, my pretty? That's what I feel like I should be saying. Okay, look at my squash. Can you see my squash? I need a fork. Ooh, let me get a fork. Are we done? Oh, look at that. In and out. Did you see that? Poke the fork in. The squash did not come with it. How cool is that? Are you looking? La 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 la. La la la. Because if it comes out, if it comes with me, then it's not done. Okay, I'm going to get just a little plate. This is an old pattern. It's called kiwi. And I only had this one plate. That's all I had because I came late to the game when deciding on liking this pattern, but I love this pretty green. Isn't that gorgeous? And so Rebecca just got some more in, and so I got a bowl in this. I'm so excited. So I now have a bowl and a plate. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get a piece of our patty pan. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Can you see? I always hate that light. I feel like you can't really see, but there we go. All right, I'm going to give this a little taste, although I just took it out of the oven. So I can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to burn my pretty little mouth. That's a pretty little mouth. You go. Okay, ready? Oh. Oh, it's very hot. Okay, I cut off 2 pieces. Okay, so not so different. It is a very pretty plate. Oh, Rebecca's gonna show more on Sunday. Awesome, Rebecca. I will be there. My fingers are ready to go. It tastes not so different than a yellow squash. I would say it's a little meatier. And by meatier, it means it has a little bit more, not so mushy. You know how a yellow squash, the inside has so many seeds that it tends to be really mushy. It's even there. This holds up to a roasting, which I'm really excited about. There's a lot of Chinese garlic in our grocery stores. Chinese garlic have to have the roots removed for importing to the US. I didn't know that. I may have to go. American garlic still has some roots attached. Good to know. Well, there you go. So, I need an onion because, come on, you know, if you're gonna cook it with all this, you need to have it all on there. Okay, there we go. Look at that. This is what I'm having for lunch. Roasted, very hot. Roasted patty pans. Yum. Okay, my butter beans are almost out of boil. Not quite yet. You remember, as soon as they come to a boil, we're gonna turn it down to low, put on a lid, and let it cook for an hour. I hope you enjoyed today. I really do. I hope you enjoyed. You know, I don't check numbers very often. It's just not my thing. But I did notice that we are nearing the 200 mark for subscribers on YouTube. Like, we are nearing. It doesn't matter a hill of beans, does it? Nothing happens. Nothing happens when we hit 200, but there you go. She's behind me, isn't she? Yep, there she is. I see her. See, she always wants the subscribe thing. Anyway, I hope you had a lovely day, and I hope you found out about 2 different things from the farmer's market that maybe you had never seen before. Maybe you have never seen or cooked with patty pan squash. I hope you give it a shot because it's something new for your family to eat. And butter beans are yummy. And again, something different to add in your rotation as you're cooking. I hope you have a lovely day. Remember, tomorrow is Sunday. I get a YouTube award. No, I don't. Remember, tomorrow is Sunday. She's on the top of my head. Tomorrow is Sunday, and so that's our day of rest. We won't be here tomorrow, but we will be back again on Monday at 11 o'clock as always. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. From my kitchen to yours, have a lovely day. See you on Monday. Bye. It is difficult.